Good afternoon from London. My name is James Pellat. I'm Director of Workplace and Innovation, and I work for a company called Great Portland Estates. And today I'm going to talk to you about how we've embedded technology into our workplace. Before I start, let me talk to you a bit more about Great Portland Estates and what we do. We're a central London property company, and our purpose is to unlock potential to create space for London to thrive. We are uniquely placed in that we focus purely on central London. We have 2.6 million square feet of properties, which is over 47 properties on 35 sites. And that's part of London that many of you will know as Zone 1 or just central London. And we'd like to pick a whole range of properties. We don't just operate in the West End, we operate across the city, and we love the dynamism and the variety that London gives us, and we think it's a really exciting place to live and work. A key part of how we unlock that potential is to create value through our development program. That development program is 13 projects and totals about 1.8 million square feet. 3 are currently on site and being delivered, and 10 are a pipeline project. And the reason why I bring this up is because it really sets out the perennial problem that all property companies have, in that real estate is slow. I know a lot of prop tech commentators criticize property companies for being slow and slow to move, but it takes us about 7 years from conception to delivery to really work out a project. And one really good analogy, we built Facebook's European headquarters at Rathbone Square. We bought the site in 2011 and we finished it in 2017 and handed it over to them. In that time, Facebook also bought Instagram and took it from 1 million to 1 billion users. So it kind of shows that difference between the pace of technology and the pace of real estate. And so that perennial challenge is, how do you combine both? How do you stay ahead of the game? A lot of people in property will say, well, we'll wait and see, and we don't know quite what to do, which means they're continuously going to be 7 years behind. So my role at GPE is Director of Workplace and Innovation. It was created in January 2018, and it was there to respond to the changing nature of work, to ensure that we innovate in the design of our workplaces, challenge conventional thinking, and make the most of appropriate technology. So I look for emerging workplace trends, and that can be anything from flexible working to wellness to agility, and I develop strategies to incorporate that into our portfolio. But at the same time, I also take and review the best property-related technology and lead that implementation into the portfolio. I also look at those emerging design trends and feed that back to the business and chair the design review panel to ensure that we stay ahead. So one of the key challenges I had taking on that role was really to understand what we thought of as the future of the workplace. And this is a project that we've developed in East London around Silicon Roundabout called 160 Old Street. It's now been finished for a couple of years, and I'll explain to you how we could keep the innovation going in this project, even though we didn't initially conceive that aim from the outset. So first of all, we wanted to understand what occupiers wanted now, and so we commissioned research by Leesman Index. Leesman are the leading workplace satisfaction survey company. They've now got a database of over 800,000 users from over 90 countries around the world. And if you look at the trends and the answers, you can start to see patterns that have emerged. And the key things really is that the most successful workplaces provide a variety of settings and good IT infrastructure. So you need choice, and as long as that's supported by the way that you work, where you work gives you that inherent flexibility. Surprisingly, there wasn't much major difference between what age groups wanted from the workplace of today. I know there's been a push to design for different generations, but the reality is, I think, more to do with whether you're introverted or extroverted, and what you want from the workplace is a variety of things to either concentrate, to play, to relax, to collaborate, to discuss. And it's that choice which is really the key success. And finally, the most important thing is really that provision of good refreshment and the amenity to a building and the quality of that amenity space. And these are all examples here. You can see of buildings that we finished from Elm Yard, Old Street and Gray's Inn Road, where we've started to put these ideas into practice. But that's great for where we were. What about tomorrow? The great thing about this crisis, if there has been one, is it seems to have accelerated our thinking, or everybody's thinking. But we asked a couple of years ago, what would occupiers want in 2030? And so we ran some focus groups with a company called Harris Interactive, and we took 3 generations of focus group, millennials, Gen X, and the combined group, just to understand if there were any patterns. We run this in projects across Europe as well, so 6 different cities across Europe. And we asked people to think of the things that were going to concern them most and which were the most important to them. And if you look at the scale of those things that are more likely to happen and the things that are important to people, it's through 3 key themes. And this is consistent across Europe and across age groups. Everybody was concerned about the growth of AI and big data and that point about how it's going to affect our lives. Some people are scared about it. Some people are really excited about it. But the key is we know that it's coming. And this was an early glimpse, really. Everybody thought that they would be able to work anywhere. And what we've proven in the past 16 weeks is that's absolutely true. You can work everywhere and you can work with agility. So long as you've got Wi-Fi connection, that's what you can do. And interestingly, at that time, this was back in 2018, 2019, that we asked this question. Everybody wanted to work in somewhere that was actively tackling climate change. At the time, that was more important than well-being and work-life balance. I suspect that may change a bit now, and we're going to start a new project of research to identify this. But those 3 key themes are there. So we worked out how we could implement that vision into our properties. And what we did is create something called our guiding principles for design. Now, these are blueprint for questions that we ask every design team from the outset of our projects. Every agent, every leasing team, every broker, every marketing team have to contribute towards this brief. And we think we're uniquely placed in asking for that contribution. Quite often, the biggest problems in real estate are those that are caused by people assuming that the brief is correct. And it's that lack of clarity which is a real issue. And we need to provide focused design schemes that fulfill our occupiers' needs and help users thrive by enhancing their everyday experience. And what do we mean by this? We mean that a lot of real estate owners will worry about who's going to provide the service rather than what the service is. And we think if we design those services in, we can manage the who at a later stage. We know that the schemes have to contribute positively to the local community. This is a really important output. How we impact in society is a key issue for Londoners. It's a key issue for the councillors, and it's a key issue for our people in our neighbourhoods that we affect. And we want to make sure that we tread softly in that sphere. We need to make sure that the schemes that we build reflect the character, diversity and inclusivity of London. London is a great city. I'm very proud to be a Londoner. I've lived here most of my life, and I really, really enjoy that experience. And what I really love is that rich cultural diversity that we gain from years of immigration. And everyone can think of a typical London building, but really that means there's a great deal of variety. So we take the best buildings in the best locations and make them the best that they can be. It means we're comfortable delivering from Whitechapel to the West End. And not last, but definitely not least, we design schemes that are sustainable and operate efficiently. We need to make sure that that golden circle, that golden thread of how buildings operate, that we plan for, that we are able to deliver to enhance that occupier experience while still reducing energy consumption, are absolutely critical to our success as we move forwards. So that's the theory. Let me take you through a building in practice. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is a building called 160 Old Street. We purchased it in 2013. It was 98,000 square feet, and we finished it in April 2018. We'd increased the size to just over 160,000 square feet, and it's fully let to Turner Broadcasting, Pusher, Bosch, Sensor, and HRS Group. We also have a variety of retail restaurants on the ground floor. And we baked in innovation from the beginning. And like I said, we didn't plan to create a smart building. What we did was just approach any development that we did with an open mind. Previously, I was head of projects at Great Portland Estate, which meant I was responsible for the overall delivery of all of our developments. And back in 2011, I took the opportunity from the government's mandate to implement BIM on all construction projects by 2016 to apply it to ourselves in the private sector. And I think we were one of the first private landlords to do so. So we had a really rich digital construction database that we could use as a platform to build from. We think we have created the smartest workspace in London since then. It's got a WiredScore Gold, but it's also the first building with a Cyber Essential certificate, which means that it has that government-backed mandate that cybersecurity is protected for our occupiers as we move forwards. And we also think it's the first integration of a smart building with BIM model and to create a digital twin. So what we did is that since 2016, we've been working with a company called Smart Spaces, and we've partnered with them with a really open mind and a really great process of collaboration. And what we've done is create a workplace app called Sesame, which has been designed to enhance the occupier's experience. And I'm just going to play you a short video to explain what Sesame does and how it works. So as you can see from that video, we think that we can really enhance the day-to-day experience of our occupiers' lives, and we're really proud of it. Our unique app provides greater control for people. It allows you to switch on lights, switch off lights, and crucially control the temperature. That means that you're able to feel comfortable in your own settings and give that degree of control, which avoids frustration. We've automated building access, which means you can have hands-free access if you've enabled the Bluetooth on your phone. That's a really popular benefit as people are starting to return to the workplace as a result of the pandemic. It is a community platform. It allows us to engage directly with users and with local businesses, but also provides that lifestyle concierge so that you can have direct access to our services, get discounts from local restaurants and businesses, and provide a massive online library of newspapers and magazines, all of which have been really popular during lockdown. And we know that our occupiers have still been able to use it. It also means we've been able to communicate with them. And uniquely, we've also rolled this out now across the entire portfolio. So as we've continued to build on that journey, we're starting to gain really valuable insights into what our occupiers want. But as I said, that wasn't a journey that we started out to deal with when we bought the building back in 2013. What this is a timeline really to show those key lessons learned, and that's what I'd like to share with you. We started work in 2016 at 55 Well Street, another property. And we also, at that time, also carried out what we called a disruption project, which is where I was engaged to work with members and colleagues in my business to start to identify those trends that were starting to disrupt real estate and really question whether the things we should be doing. So we started working with smart spaces in 2017, and we bought a building called the Hickman, which was purchased with a specific focus on innovation, and that will deliver next month. And it's going to be a tremendously exciting building with next generation access to sensors, hands-free access, and a really seamless, integrated, flexible space that we think is really there for the workplace of tomorrow. We spent quite a lot of time getting the app right because we needed to complete 55 Well Street, and it wasn't really until the middle of 2018 that we got it there. But what we did is that we've been able to build on the back of existing BMS technology within the building to be able to integrate that with cybersecurity and control back through a single building API into the app. And now that testing is complete, it meant that we were able to demonstrate it to the business. And this is crucial. I really can't emphasize enough how it takes your colleagues, and to bring your colleagues with you on that journey. It takes a few determined, persistent people to keep going, to deal with the disappointments. But I think most people in real estate are open-minded to technology. They just want to see it physically there. It's having to use your imagination to see it, or taking a chance to see that it's happened. And you've kind of got to remove that risk. But equally, as a real estate owner, I think you've got to be brave and take that risk. And that allowed us to complete that rollout at the end of last year. And I really cannot emphasize enough that collaboration is key. In the end, over 25 staff at GPE and 3 external companies have been involved. I don't think there's a single company on the planet that can make this happen. You really need to build that integration and act with an open mind as you move forwards. And so as we move forwards, as we return to the office and we return to this workplace, what are our challenges that we look at next? That is in net zero carbon in developments is about challenging specifications and researching new materials. We are looking into our next piece of research is how occupiers want their buildings to be managed and how we can influence occupier behavior to reduce our carbon footprint together and build that trust and rapport between landlord and occupier. We've invested directly through Pi Labs and potentially with other venture capital. We're going to further develop Sesame into bringing in things like wellness sensors and air quality that will enable us to give even more confidence to occupiers. We're going to further roll out digital twins across our development pipeline and start to use some of that feedback for data analytics, and then deliver our flexible workspaces in our flex spaces as we move forwards. So I mentioned earlier, talked about buildings are coming forward, and this is the Hickman in Whitechapel. And we think this is a model for future developments. It's got built-in layers of flexibility and growth opportunities within the building. So at the top of the building is core traditional space, which makes it more attractive that you would lease on 5 to 10 year terms. In the middle is a flex space that we will own, manage and operate ourselves. And then over the ground floor, there's a partnership with a third-party supplier that will give a much more organic space for growth. The reception space in this building is tremendously exciting. It's like no other reception in London. It doesn't have a traditional reception desk. You wouldn't necessarily recognize it as an office building. And we think this is really going to turn a few heads when it opens next month. Finally, I'd like to thank you very much for giving me the chance to speak to you this afternoon and for taking the time to listen to what I've had to say. If you've got any questions, then please feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to ask any questions directly. And I really look forward to watching the rest of the program and exciting speakers the rest of the day. Thank you very much.